Let's take a look at this pilot story. Because at first, I was really sick of hearing about this story. A daring rescue, so brave, kiss the hero's ass, all that shit. I was so sick of hearing about that. And then it started getting interesting when oh, it might not have even been a rescue mission. They were trying to steal the uranium and they positioned it as a rescue mission and it failed miserably. And now they're trying to, cover up for that. So now this website here that I stumbled across, thirsty. This website that I stumbled across, Sonar 21, it's run by this guy. I had to do some little bit of research because it had good it made some good points and somebody shared it, but I was like, this is just some random shit. But apparently this guy was a former CIA officer, grain of salt and all, but has some credibility. Former planner and advisor of the US State Department's Officer of Counterterrorism. So not just a random blog, because that was my first inclination. But oddities, he points out. Where is it? So there are some real oddities about this story. The WSO is normally a lieutenant or a captain. This WSO is a colonel who is the vice wing commander at Wafati Air Base in Jordan. This helps explain the large number of assets devoted to finding and rescuing. So this was a very high-ranking person that they were going after. A variety of press reports claim he suffered a broken leg or a broken ankle. This raises legitimate questions. How did a man with a broken leg walk 5 miles and then climb a mountain? I don't even think it was that. It was like 100 miles. Let's continue. I'm pretty sure it was longer than that. I'm not suggesting that it is an impossible task, but it does raise some questions about the accuracy of the US military's account of events. Now, here's the kicker. The geolocated wreckage of the C-130s, which were apparently using a local agricultural airstrip, see photo above, just happens to be right over a mountain, about 35 kilometers, 21 miles away from the nuclear facility where Iran's near weapons grade enriched uranium is allegedly stored. Was this whole affair a botched raid by the U.S. Special Operations Forces to seize Iranian uranium? Iranian uranium, that's a good one, for the Isfahan facility? So that's the other thing. People are saying that these C-130 planes are not usually taken on these kind of rescue missions. I don't know if anybody knows a little bit better that can speak to that, but I've heard a lot of people say that in the past day. Let's see what else. I want you to reconsider some of the other accounts that are circulating. The first up is this account claims that a large scale U.S. rescue operation for the second crew member has effectively confirmed that the first official boots on the ground inside Iran. What the U.S. presented as a straightforward combat search and rescue mission involved significant special operations forces penetrating deep into Iranian territory, resulted in heavy U.S. losses of aircraft, according to Iranian reports and open source evidence. Yeah, I do think there was probably more casualties. It seems like it. So the rescue narrative may have served as covered or coincided with a broader objective. So yeah, they could have said, "All right, we need to get this guy out of here." Iran is saying that I believe that they're saying it was a failed mission to try to get the uranium and that the US blew up their own people on the way out, Hannibal directive style. And I have a couple of those like reports and accusations I'll pull up in a couple minutes as well. Let's see. Anthony Aguilar, a retired special operations officer, has a slightly different take. He offers the following hypothesis. The rescue operation expanded to become the desired Delta Force JSOC T6 high risk operation to also seize the uranium. Hence, the need for so many operators support aircraft. This was intended to be that operation. It failed. So what happened to the aircraft? I do not believe that they were stuck. I have seen MC 130Js plow through the dirt, mud, snow, gravel, etc. I doubt they were stuck. It is more likely that the aircraft took hits upon entry and also took hits and damage while on the ground at the Hasty FARP, which is a improvised airstrip that they tried to make. at the old airfield in Isfahan, conveniently closes to where the suspected uranium may have been stored. Then there is Greg Bagwell, who is currently president UK Air and Space Force Association, said, let's see if he had a different theory. I'm not sure if I see an interesting one there. This guy is saying the whole fiasco may be a blessing in disguise. The loss of a number of key air assets and the exposure of the remote airfield within shouting distance of Isfahan may compel the U.S. commanders to cancel their planned raid to capture. Oh, maybe I agree with them there. While the U.S. forces like chess piece has been assembled, so that is interesting. I had a bit more on this too. Let's see. Here's some footage of the wreckage, which you may have seen. They had their news crews down there and everything, and yeah, so then the Iranians also released a Lego video because that's how they communicate with the dumb Americans, basically, where they showed them US soldiers blowing up their own planes and these like hands that were left behind reaching up into the sky like you left us behind. And this is a weird thing for him to say here.
The second rescue mission involved needed the
And
bigger. This
he lists out all of the aircraft that were involved and everything.
second rescue mission involved 155 aircraft, including 4 bombers, 64 fighters, 48 refueling tankers, 13 rescue aircraft, and more. We were bringing them all over, and a lot of it was subterfuge. We wanted to have them think he was in a different location because they had a vast military force out there. Thousands of people were looking. So we wanted them to look in different areas. So we were scattered it all over like we were right on top of them. We had 7 different locations where they thought, and they were very confused. They said, wait a minute, they've got groups here, they've got groups there. It's an amazing thing. I was listening to these great people, these great generals, General
He really does seem like he's struggling.
Raisin Kane was amazing, and Pete Hegseth was amazing. But I listened to the whole thing; it was pretty amazing. So they had all these different sites where everybody thought.
Gonna go to the next one. So this is gross. Now, there have already been like 1,000 people killed in this thing. The first day of the war, there was a bomb dropped on a school that killed 200 kids. And with this pilot missing, this Sky News person says, this brings a human dimension to the war. You gotta be kidding me, man. These people, they just don't see people outside of their jurisdiction or of a different skin shade as human beings or of a different religion or whatever. It's insane.
Why are we concentrating on one jet and one aircrew? It's because tactically it's not really significant, but strategically, if Iran manages to find the aircrew first, then the danger is we go down a path which we went down in the Gulf War when Flight Lieutenant John Peters, how we had him on earlier, he was paraded propaganda and it touched the whole world. And it suddenly brings a human dimension to the war. So at the moment, yeah, it's
Human dimension to the war. Yeah, there was a moment. I think I'm not sure if I saved it or not. I don't think it was in that clip where Trump was like, "How many people did we have?" And then the general was like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to put out that number." And he's like, "Yeah, all right. The number it was a couple hundred." It seems like there are remnants of a body in the wreckage of one of these. So we haven't been told about that. The other thing that's very strange is why aren't they all right, if they're in the hospital, probably I understand, but are all of them in the hospital? Why aren't they parading any of these people out in front of the cameras? Which you think that they would do with the kind of social media forward administration that we got. So this is just a couple more things I saved. I think it's all the same footage though, all these posts. Here's some Fox coverage where they admit to at least several injuries and apparently a couple things that undermine the narrative. Let's see what they said.
We don't know the condition of the airmen at this point. I can tell you that the injuries are likely to be serious. We know that the pilot still remains in the region getting treatment. That suggests to me that the medical condition of the pilot is such that he cannot travel onto Landstuhl yet. It must be stabilized before you can can do that. This is still a very serious situation. A number of U.S. service members were injured during the rescue mission. We knew on Friday that 2 of the military helicopters were struck by enemy fire as part of that rescue mission. And then we know more details about the A-10 Warthog that crashed on Friday. That A-10 Warthog was providing suppressive fire and flying cover for the rescue operation as they were trying to find this. They were in a race against the clock to find this second airman who had ejected from the plane and was hiding in that ridgeline. But we know that A-10 Warthog crashed in Kuwait, and the pilot of that plane also had to eject and be
a lot of crashes piling up.
Rescued. But he is safe as well, I'm told. And good news tonight. But I think when all is said and done and we learn the details of this rescue mission, it really will be the stuff of Hollywood.
So this I'm not too sure about. This has been disputed, but people are arguing about it, basically. So this is apparently a passport that was retrieved from the site of the wreckage. This is apparently a U.S. agent who is operating out of Tel Aviv that was a nuclear specialist. So worked for the Israeli National Defense and Medical Imaging Companies as a medical engineer, but also had some kind of, specifically she worked with Philips and other companies on radiation machines. That I got a couple of other links, including videos of when they apparently pulled the documents out. So I want to see if they're the same documents. What's this one? So according to her LinkedIn, she worked for Raphael Systems, hunted an unarmed man in Jabalia, and then published a video of the murder as a commercial in June last year. Wow. Passport was found at the site of the C-130 and 3 helicopter crashes, not the F-15. So that would make sense if she was there with a crew. Yeah, like it seems like that's what everybody's saying, is that it's some kind of botched. Where is the video of the documents? Okay, here it is. Let's see if we can see the passport or whatever in this. Is that the same? They got her credit card. Apparently she had 2 IDs. She had the passport and then she had an ID. They were holding up the ID in the video, which I've seen in a separate thing, and it did have the same name on it. I think there's a little bit more in this thread. So, guess that's them just going through the wreckage. No. But they were holding up. This is a map showing how far the pilot apparently walked. See, this is where I saw the 110 miles. This was tracked on here, not including added mileage for caverns and mountains. And this was with a broken leg or whatever. And these geolocator people, they found this place immediately. It seems like the New York Times is going to have to retract this in particular as well. About they claimed that the U.S. airman was helped by locals. This person asked Julian Barnes, who co-authored the report, what evidence there was for this. His response was, "Oh, Iranians didn't assist the airmen. This was speculation from our Iran experts." The article never clarifies that this was pure speculation. New York Times. Meanwhile, the locals were actually shooting at the airplanes. This is from Iranian TV. I'll read the subtitles that this guy says. Let's see. The IRGC, the Brazil, and law enforcement, God bless them as well. In the images we saw today of the wreckage of the American helicopters and aircraft, one image caught our attention in particular, this one here. Minutes ago, the IRGC provided this image to the news agency. This is the wreckage, the body of one of the aircraft. We cannot currently identify which specific aircraft, but clearly this is the body of one of the American technical crew or flight personnel. And here, one of the helicopter rotor blades, you can clearly see shrapnel marks. Most likely, this helicopter was damaged by Iranian air defense system, either making an emergency landing or it was struck down. These are shrapnel marks from Iranian air defense systems, and based on the same Hannibal protocol that the Americans and the Zionist regimes follow to prevent their personnel and crew from falling into the hands of the Islamic Republic's armed forces, They have completely bombed and eliminated them. So this body that is in this aircraft, the IRGC is saying that these people were bombed by the US. Now, I would feel like they would proudly take credit if they were the ones that did it, unless they're playing a propaganda game, which is always possible. But that's not what I would lean towards. Oh, wait. I forgot I was reading. They may have completely bombed and eliminated them. This is body of one of the Americans. Clearly inside one of the aircraft. Here you can see the center console of the aircraft and the control display panel of the helicopter. It's interesting how much more in depth they get into it than our media does. So this is where I think this is General Kane admits that average citizens were shooting on all these aircraft and they the crew took injuries.
After picking up Dude 44 Alpha, the HH-60 Jolly Green fight was engaged by every single person in Iran who had a small arms weapon. And one of the aircraft, the trailing aircraft, took several hits. The crew sustained minor injury, and they are going to be fine.
So they put this guy on Iranian television. This is apparently the guy who brought one of the Black Hawk helicopters down. He says American planes and helicopters came into our land and governor gave us the green light to fire. And these fighter jets make weird sound whenever they come to hit Tehran or Isfahan, or whenever there's always this sound, we see them sometimes and sometimes not. We usually hear the sound really close. We came outside and I saw two helicopters come from that village. The jets came in really low, even lower than the helicopters. They were banking up like this, going up. I loaded my gun. One of them was higher than the jets. When one of them came a bit lower, I fired 2 shots at it. Then I saw one of them coming really low. I did nothing until the next one. Then we fired toward the window. Right there, you could see the pilot. I shot twice at the cockpit and twice at the cargo so it would blow up. I fired 4 shots at the other one too. I actually told my family to stay inside. I'll get some distance from the house so that only I targeted if they hit me, I had to shoot them. So yeah, he didn't want his daughters getting in the way. I'll get some distance from the house so that only I get targeted if they hit me. Okay. I swear, I told the kids not to come. After I fired a few shots, I saw her yelling, "Dad, shoot." She was shouting, "Shoot it, Dad. It didn't come down. Shoot." Were you shouting, "Shoot, Dad, shoot it down"? Yeah. Why? For the little martyr girls of Minab, for our dear leader, to destroy the enemies, America and Israel. Have you watched the news recently? Yeah. And why do you think it's that the enemy should be shot at? Because they're child killers. That's fair. That's wild. See, and with any country in times of war, is this propaganda? Is this a propaganda event? I believe this dude. And also because of the fact that this was in the middle of nowhere, from what I understand, and a lot of people were descending on the area, they were crowdsourcing an army for this. So it makes sense that it would be some random dude. So yeah, I found it quite interesting to look at those kind of local coverages.